very much for your insights today, John.
Sure.
I'm just interested about when you said that those who didn't get it left the organisation, which would left a gap. How did you translate the servant leadership into a recruitment strategy in getting your new leaders into the organisation? Did that also translate?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, not only for the senior leadership, but also for every employee we hired. We had a very robust hiring process. That the first step was they had to read through our performance behaviors that we had established. As these are the non-negotiable behaviors that you have to agree to abide by if you are chosen to work here. And the last page was basically a contract that they had to sign that they agreed that they would abide by. Now we had a lot of people that just threw the book at the HR person and said, "I'm not going to do that." And that's great. Because one of the things I always told the leader was it's a lot easier not to hire a bad employee than it is to get rid of a bad employee. And I think we've all probably had that experience before. The next step was we actually hired a third-party expert in doing personality evaluations. So we were hiring people that had those characteristics through a very structured process. So before you even got an interview, you had to go through the book, and then you had to take a personality inventory. And then if they passed that, they met with an HR person, professionally trained interviewer. Okay, if you passed that, then you were presented to the department head, who was trained in how to interview around those characteristics. And then if you passed that level, we actually had a process of peer interviewing, where we would pick 4 or 5 of the more stellar employees in a particular department who would interview the candidate. And the interesting part about the way the process works is those 4 or 5 peer interviewers could trump the boss's decision. Because if the boss hires somebody that the peer interviewers say don't hire, how do you think those employees are going to treat that candidate once he comes to work or she comes to work? Not very well. So it was a multi-step process, and it worked very well. It didn't work perfectly because obviously people slip through the cracks, but I mean, if you have a 7% turnover rate, that's almost too low. Because you want to be turning over and keeping fresh, but through this process that we had to bring people on board, and then we had an even more rigorous process for senior leadership. So I actually talked to them about the characteristics of servant leadership and had a conversation with them about their leadership style and did that fit with, my first question was, what's your leadership style? Okay, and I could tell immediately if that was aligned. So we were hiring people who this stuff just came naturally to or had been trained in it somewhere else. And if they came in and they said, well, the most important thing to me is a bottom line, strong bottom line, we just stopped. I mean, there was a short interview. But if they started talking about people being important and customer satisfaction and quality and those types of things, those are the people that we advance. So we actually hired in people that had that pension. They still needed the training, like everybody needed the training. And you have to keep in mind that we started this process after the exodus and continued it for 7 years, the remaining 7 years while I was there. So every 6 months or every year we had this survey process going on. And not only was that for the senior leadership team, we took it throughout the entire organization, 650 leaders throughout everywhere. And then we had a group of people we called Shining Stars, who were people who had either expressed an interest in leadership or we had identified as having a potential for being a leader. And we actually included them in leadership development because we wanted to have a strong bench. So if the director of surgery left, we had somebody that could step in immediately. We didn't have to stop and go do an external search and go through all that trouble. So that bench was about 125 people. So we had a lot of people in the organization that could step into the role of leadership.
Okay, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
for a
Yes, I
brilliant
appreciate
talk.
it.
This is the close to the formal part of the seminar tonight, and no seminar such as this can be pulled together without work behind the scenes. So MLC Innovations in terms of bringing John out to Australia from the US, and the Sir Roland Wilson Foundation for putting this event on tonight. If everyone could put their hands together again to say thank you to John for a very insightful talk. And please join us outside for some light refreshments, and I'm sure John will take further questions.
Sure, absolutely.